This is the brand new Honda SCL500, Honda's newest Scrambler, and today we get to ride it, so let's jump right into getting it on the road. Alright, let's start things off on this SCL500 with a little acceleration test here. So, it's really not too bad actually. That's decent acceleration. I mean, no one's gonna buy this because it's a super fast bike, but you really have no problem getting up to speed, keeping up with traffic. Now, we've been riding for a little bit today, and so far my favorite thing about this motorcycle is the riding position, the ergonomics. It's very upright, it's very comfortable. I feel no pressure on my lower back whatsoever. I can sit up nice and straight, reach the controls plenty fine. I've got the right amount of bend in the leg for me at 5'10". So this is a motorcycle that you could happily spend all day on. Maybe if you were really tall, you would be a little scrunched with your legs on this bike, but if you're a pretty average height person, you're gonna be just fine. Now for my favorite thing about this bike, which is the way that it handles. It being very lightweight and really actually a surprisingly narrow bike. It is actually a lot of fun in the corners. I mean, this is not the most sophisticated suspension out there, and this is obviously, it's not the most handling focused bike that you can get even from Honda at this level and this displacement, but because it's light and because it's small, it is something that you can toss around in a corner pretty easily, which makes it a lot of fun to ride. For the most part, this feels like a very smart, economical bike. One that's going to be really good on gas, one that's inexpensive to buy. For the most part, and a lot of the time, it feels like a bike that you buy with your head, maybe not as much with your heart, even though it is a good-looking motorcycle. But once you get it into the turns, again, just because it's a small, light bike, then you start to see the fun to be had with this SCL500. Here you can see the heart of the SCL500. It's this 471cc parallel twin, familiar engine like what you see in the Rebel 500, the CBR 500. There's a lot of different bikes that are running this powertrain in all different categories, and now also in the Scrambler category, and it's mated to a 6-speed transmission. There are a lot of things about the SCL500 that make it an easy bike to get on, like the fact that it has ABS and the 31-inch seat height, as well as its weight of 419 pounds. It's not very heavy. Though the SCL500 is based on the Rebel 500, it brings Scrambler styling to this platform. So you can see here a side pipe that comes up along the side of the bike, a more upright shape to this motorcycle overall, a more Scrambler style seat, and some slightly more aggressive tires, although these are still pretty street focused tires. And you have a pretty old school layout of standard forks as well as dual shocks here in the rear. Now the noise that you get from this parallel twin is pretty tame, it's pretty muted. It's not the kind of sound that you get from a 270-degree parallel twin. This is a 180-degree parallel twin. So bikes like, you know, any of the Triumphs or the Yamaha CP2s, those parallel twins are 270 degree, so they have a similar character to them as a V-twin. It's the same firing order, I believe, as a 90-degree V-twin. But these 180-degree parallel twins, they don't have quite as much character in their sound. But most of those 270-degree parallel twins, they're just in a different price category. Now, one really nice thing about this bike is that the clutch pull, super easy, super light. One of the easiest motorcycles to ride that I've been on in a long, long time. Any of the Honda 500s, to be honest, would make for a really good first bike. It just depends on what style of motorcycle you want. You know, if you want a full fairing sport bike style motorcycle, then you could go for a CBR 500. If you want a cruiser, you could do a Rebel 500. they have a lot of options, and I think this Scrambler is going to appeal to a lot of people that are looking for a first motorcycle. And it doesn't have to be a first motorcycle either. You could easily get this being someone who's ridden for a long time, and you could still enjoy it. It would make for a really good commuter bike, something that should sip fuel from this 3.2 gallon tank and just be really practical, but still a motorcycle that you can have fun on. You can pitch it into corners and enjoy yourself. Powering on the SCL500, you use this key here along the side of the bike, which is kind of cool because it's just a little bit unique, and that powers up your instrument screen here. And this is a very simple instrument screen, one that is similar to what you would see on something like a Grom or on a Monkey. So you have a gear position indicator, clock, speedometer, odometer, and you have your fuel gauge, and you can cycle through a few different things here. You've got different trip computers, you've got fuel economy. Yeah, there's a couple things that you could do with this screen, but for the most part, it's a simple screen with some dummy lights. Another cool aspect of the SCL500 that Honda has put on display here is some of the potential for aftermarket. Now, a lot of these are prototype parts, but this is a bike built by Steady Garage that you can see has tons of cool parts on it, like this Ram style mount, like what you would see a lot of people use to put their phone on their bike, holding a skateboard here with tension on it from these bungees. We've got super cool shocks, a really sweet paint job, all these racks, and then coming around, some Vance & Hines custom pipes. You've got some extra storage along the side of the bike, and 2 Brembo brakes on this model. So it just demonstrates some of the potential for customizing one of these bikes. Here you can see a couple of the parts that will definitely be available, like this rack system and this production Vance & Hines pipe. Now, I will say, even with this diffuse light that we have today, it's pretty overcast, as you can see. It can be hard to read this gauge, especially because I've got polarized sunglasses, so at certain angles it's definitely not the easiest thing to see. All in all, I've really enjoyed riding this SCL500, and it's something that you can more easily justify just because it's pretty practical. I mean, it sips fuel from this 3.2 gallon tank, and it's an affordable bike at $6,800, and I think this is going to be a good commuter bike for a lot of people who are experienced riders, and I think it's going to be a great first bike for a lot of people that are looking to get into motorcycling. And if that's what you're interested in this motorcycle for, it's a fantastic choice. Now we're finally onto some twisty roads, which is the thing that I've been looking forward to, and we're turning off of them. It took me that whole time to get my GoPro running. And now we're hooking on to what looks like another straight road.